Hello Eurovision friends, thank you so much for coming to my channel Eurovision Histories. I've been doing lots of reactions and rankings of all the national finals that have released songs, not all of them but most of them. But this one is quite special because it's my own country, Germany, in case you didn't know that I am from Germany. And in this video I want to talk about three things. Number one, I want to answer the question, why is Germany doing so poorly at Eurovision? We've come bottom 5 and even last a lot in the last couple of years. So what are the reasons for that? Then I want to look at the 7 songs that were already revealed to be part of the German national final. What do I like about each song? What I don't like about each song? So my subjective opinion and my ranking, my top 7. And then after that, I will try to answer the question you can already see there. Who should Germany send to Eurovision? So a more objective take on which song has the best chance for Germany not to come last, I guess, because that's what we're aiming for after these last couple of years, I guess. So let's get right to it. The first thing I wanted to talk about is, why does Germany do poorly at Eurovision? There are different aspects. You can see them there. First of all, I think it is the fact that we have a lot of radio pop in the national finals, and a lot of the time our entries are radio pop songs, Molly Harris, Ghost, lots of examples from the last couple of years that are just not standing out in a final of 26 songs, because you have a song that everyone kind of finds pleasant, I guess, that doesn't annoy anyone, but the problem in Eurovision is you have to convince people to pick up the phone, or in the case of jurors, to vote for you, and these radio pop entries that we seem to be sending aren't cutting it, obviously not. One of the problems is that the selection method in Germany is done with the regional broadcasters and the radio stations. So I guess people in the jury are from these radio stations, and of course they like radio pop music and don't think about what could actually work in Eurovision. And then there's also, I think, a bit of psychology to this, that Germans want everyone else to like them, and so we're looking at the songs in the national final and we're not necessarily voting for the song that we personally like the most. We vote for a song that we think is going to do well in Europe. So it's not 80 million people coming together voting for the song they think is the best one, and by that they actually do choose the best one, but it's mostly people also having that in the back of their mind. How can we convince Europe that we have a good song? And that's also the reason why we usually sing in English, I think. Next up, German taste. I'm not trying to be mean, but I mean, we're a country of 83 million people. We are not unsuccessful in the arts. There are cool German TV shows that are successful abroad. We have been nominated for Oscars. But if you really think about it, how much German music in the last 20 years do you actually remember that was successful outside of Germany? There isn't that much, even though a lot of the German artists, other than in France and Italy, sing in English, actually, so they should have an advantage, but it's just not happening. And I think that might have to do with German taste. Some foreign friends have told me that. It's not really my own opinion. Then popularity. Some people, and especially the tabloid press, after coming last in Eurovision, thinks that we are just not popular. People don't like Germany in Europe. There might be a bit of truth to this. I have always defended Eurovision and said that this doesn't play a part at all. But after last year, when Lord of the Lost came last again with a song that did stand out and that was relatively good, I kind of started believing it myself. And then the last one, and this has to do with the selection method, is that artists are just scared to go to Eurovision, come last, and then their career might be over, even though the last couple of years have shown that that's not true. Molly Harris, for example, had a top 10 hit with his song that came last at Eurovision, and Lord of the Lost, who came last a year ago, actually just had a #2 album on the German charts. So it doesn't really mean that your career is over, and it might actually give you a lot of exposure. I don't think Molly Harris would have had a top 10 hit without the exposure from the national final, but it seems like the German national broadcaster NDR isn't really doing enough to tell people about that fact, to take the scared and the fear out of it and have good and interesting artists compete. Now, There was also a rumor that Großstadtgeflüster would be sending the song Ich kündige. Lots of fans loved it. I personally love it as well. And there's another reason why Germany isn't doing too well. They said that they do like Eurovision and they would compete, but they don't want to be too close to a German flag because they're quite left-wing, I guess. And that's another reason why some artists just choose not to do it when they're from Germany. It is a pity because 7 million people watched it last year, even though we came last. And it was the second most viewed program, non-sport program in the younger demographic. So there is a lot of enthusiasm. The team of the German national broadcaster creates amazing content about Eurovision. So it's a bit weird to me that we can't find a good selection method. However, NDR seems to be doing this for the last year. They're going to give it to someone else. And there are also some rumors that Stefan Raab might be coming up with a good concept. So I'm kind of looking forward to next year already. Let's get to the 7 songs that are in the German national final. So I just realized that I recorded the whole video and I forgot one of the songs. Sorry. So it's 8 songs and a 9th song will be chosen through a casting show. The one I forgot is 99. So I'll cut this before I reveal the rest of my ranking. This doesn't say a lot of positive things about this song, which is called Love on a Budget, I guess, because I kind of forgot about it. It is engaging, has an engaging melody. I like this staccato effect in the chorus. It kind of keeps your attention also, which is a good thing. Has a cool modern beat. It has a summery feel to it, but it also kind of goes through the motions. Like it ends after half of the song is over and then it just goes through the same thing again and kind of repeats the beginning. So that's not great. It's fresh and cool, but it's just not special enough for me. So I would have put this in probably 5th position, something like that. So now I'll get back to the ranking of the songs I did not forget. Sorry again. So in 7th place, I have Leona with Undream You. It's a slow acoustic song. She has very sweet and soft lyrics in this. Really nice. A bit like Katie Melua, Nora Jonesy, a little bit like that. I think a very intimate staging could work with this really, really well. It's about a lost love, which also goes along well with the music. So you might ask, why is it 7th? Well, I think it's a bit boring. It's a bit too uneventful. Nothing is really happening in this song. There's nothing catchy either. It doesn't have to be like a hook that stays in your head. But for example, Saudade, Saudade from Portugal is a song like this that had something that grabs your attention and your emotions as well. I don't really feel it with this one. Maybe the staging will help. But for now, I just think it's a bit too mellow. In 6th place, I have Galant with Katze. They say that they want to shock with unconventional sounds. I think that explains a lot. It's spoken word singing. There's a very minimal beat, very mysterious sync sounds as well. It's about a person who becomes like a cat and lashes out at people because they were hurt and now they want to protect themselves by lashing out. But again, this is a song that is very uneventful. I know that that's the point, but personally, and this is my personal opinion, I can't get into this because it's just too monotonous and too repetitive as well. In 5th place, I have Mutzke, who obviously represented Germany in 2003. I remember at that time I was so excited and I thought he was going to win. Then he came 8th and I was heartbroken, and now he's back. I always thought that he would be a good person to invite back with a good song. He has great vocals. He has a lot more experience than when he was at Eurovision a few years ago. Well, a lot of years ago, actually 21 years ago. And coming 8th today would be amazing, obviously. So if he can replicate his success, that would already be enough. He has grown a lot as an artist, but at least in the studio version, there is depth missing to this. I think it's just very shallow in a way. You do feel the emotion in his voice. That is very good, as I said, but it just feels like the brakes are on a little bit. And they did this climax, which is kind of nicely done, but it's a bit too subdued even during this climax at the end of the song. So, and another thing that I really don't understand is he has been singing in German in recent years. Most of his songs were in German, and now he has reverted back to English, which brings me back to what I said about the psychology part. He wants to please as many people as possible, so he switched it to English, which in this case, I think it would have been nice to have it in German because it would have stood out a bit more. Then in fourth position, I have Rick. I know that he is the big fan favorite at the moment in the Eurovision fandom. And it has a lot of potential, I think. He has participated before, didn't do well in the televote at all. The song was a bit similar, I think. And there were some issues with the vocals, I think, if I remember correctly. What I like about this is it stays subdued throughout the song in a way, but then there are dynamic changes. There is a lot more intensity coming in. The verses are kind of low, and then during the chorus, this metallic instrumentation comes in and creates loudness. But as I said, the whole song just stays subdued, and that gives it this feeling of style in a way, and also artistic expression, I guess. There's a part where it's almost silent and then the sound comes in louder and louder. That's also very cool, and it kind of creates an explosion. There's a bit of an eerie feel about it. But personally, and that's why it's number 4, it doesn't speak to me 100%. There are sometimes songs where you think this is well constructed and cool as a song, but you don't get it personally. And until now, this hasn't clicked for me yet, but I do see the good potential, especially with a good staging. Okay. Now we have Marie Reim, who is kind of Eurovision royalty, if you want, because she is the daughter of Michelle, who came, I think, 7th for us in 2001 in Copenhagen, I do believe. The chest, you might remember. And her father is also a very famous Schlager singer in Germany. He had one of the biggest hits in the 90s or late 80s. And so she kind of has everything given to her genetically, I guess, that she needs to be a performer. This song is called Naiv, and it's a bit Helene Fischer without being Helene Fischer. Lots of fans, of course, want Helene Fischer to represent Germany, but she's not going to do it because of the last point of my Why Germany Does Poorly thing. She's just scared, I think, that it might hurt her career, and also she doesn't quite need it because the career is doing really, really well. So the song is called Naiv. It's a German Schlager. It is, I think, above average, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's an amazing song, but it is above average in this genre. Is it a modern song? No. Is it a bad song? Probably not. I mean, there are some aspects in this that are just so camp and so fun and so engaging that it might actually work and people might like this. There's a huge part of the German population that likes this kind of music. I am not part of that part of the German population, but I do see that there is something special, and at least it's something different. It's not radio pop once again. It's a Schlager song. There is this synth interception with the tam-tam after she sings Für dich bin ich wieder naiv. I'm going to be naive again for you. The lyrics in this are terrible, but in a way that it's almost good again. She sings of a guy who has the tattoo of a woman's name on his neck, and she sings, "You told me that it was over with her, and the ring doesn't mean anything to you." So I guess it's suggesting that a married guy went out with another woman and then tattooed her name on his neck, which is not the smartest thing to do, I guess. And then she sings, and this is kind of destroying feminism for the next 30 years. "Tonight I will give myself to you anyway. The next day you will be gone, but I'm very naive." And she kind of has the self-reflection to say that that's not a good thing, at least that. But so it's good that the song is in German, which is another thing that makes it stand out. And I have it third because I think this kind of style of music should maybe be represented. And actually it kind of engaged me in a fun way. Yeah. So Eurovision is kind of making me open my mind a lot, like with Let 3 and Baby Lasagna and all of these things that just make my taste in music a bit more diverse, I guess, and this could be part of it. Then in second place, I have Bodine Monet. Tears Like Rain is the song. It kind of reminds me her whole look, but also the sound of the song of Emily de Forest, who obviously did quite well in Eurovision, so that's a good comparison. She is from the Netherlands, and a lot of people have asked, in a country of 83 million people, why are you choosing someone from the Netherlands, potentially? And this might, again, go to the points I made in the beginning, that we're trying to please everyone, and if we choose her, at least we're pleasing the Netherlands, I guess. She has a great deep voice in this. There are parts that are so deep that it's almost husky, and I really find that really, really good. Cool hooks in the song as well. There's this clapping beat in parts of the song that helps it stay memorable. A good enough song. The climax is kind of okay, but of course this is pure radio pop that is just has this problem that it might get lost in the sea of radio pop songs we might have at Eurovision. I personally like it. I think it's a good enough song, but yeah, I'll talk about the chances at Eurovision in a minute. Then we have ISAAK with the song Always on the Run. Along with Max Mutzke, this might actually be the best voice, and it is the best voice in the competition. I think I love the raspiness that he has. I think he can actually do this live as well. It is a much better song than Max Mutzke. That's why he is number one and Max isn't. It's driving, engaging. It also stays in your ear with this hook. It has Run Anae, which is a bit like Waka Waka, sounds a bit African almost. And that is good that it has a hook that stays in your ear. The verses are very dramatic and sound like a pop ballad, but then you have the chorus, which is a bit more fun and engaging and can make the song more memorable. Another thing that might make him memorable is the look that is quite different from everyone else, and that is why this is my number one. But I think my German psyche might be working on me as well, because I also kind of had in my head, well, this is the best song that could do the best at Eurovision. But let's get to that. Who should Germany send to Eurovision? Now, Germany is a Big Five country, which means they are automatically in the final. And since last year, in the semifinals, the qualifiers are decided by 100% televote, which means that everyone who is not a Big Five country or a host country has to think about, we should choose a song that is good enough and appealing enough to the televote that it can actually qualify. Because what is a jury bait song going to do if it stays in the semifinal? This gives a huge advantage, I think, to the Big Five countries of choosing slower, ballady songs that stand out in a sea of televote-friendly and a bit more crazy songs that might be able to qualify from the semifinals. Having said that, I think that there will still be ballads that will qualify from the semifinals, so it's not the main point, but I do think that it is a big advantage if a Big Five country chooses a ballad. Looking at you, Italy, for example, or France actually has a big advantage already. I thought I'd go quickly through all of them because it's my country and tell you why I think they are good for Eurovision or not good. Leona, I think, is just too uneventful. This wouldn't catch either the televotes or the jury votes, so I don't think she should go to Eurovision. GALANT is the kind of song that could get a few televote points, but maybe it's also not standing out enough to really convince a lot of televoters, and the juries will definitely not go for this. I think when we look at how they have voted in the last couple of years, also wouldn't choose them. This one is interesting because he has a great vocal performance, which is something the juries love. So this might be one that if our aim is to avoid last place, he might actually be a good choice. But as I've already said, there is someone with a good voice who has a better song, actually. As I said, I have not connected to this personally, but I do see the potential of a very intimate, slow staging. And if it's surrounded by a lot of loud entries, let's imagine Cha-Cha-Cha by Katze and then a rock song like from Australia this year, and this is in the middle, that might actually work relatively well. So I wouldn't exclude it, but I also think that it's just not good enough of a song to actually do a lot of good. Reim, I just think the juries would destroy this completely. It might get a few televotes, especially from Austria, Switzerland, maybe the Netherlands, but that might actually not be enough to avoid last place in the end, because the juries will definitely, I think, not vote for this, especially if they look at the lyrics. Second, Bodine, Monet, maybe we could get like 7 points from the Netherlands. That's the bar at the moment. We don't want to have 0 points. It's an okay song. I think this could do reasonably well with the televote and the jury vote as well, if she does sing well enough. But it is also not standing out enough if you imagine that it's 20 radio pop songs in the final, which it won't be, but might be. This might not have the je ne sais quoi to actually get someone to pick up their phone. And so I think ISAAK might be a good choice because he can get some jury votes because of his great voice. So when looking at ISAAK, I think he might be a good choice because he can convince the jury members because of his good voice. And also it's a generic, well, good and well-constructed pop song, well-produced, that might also convince the juries. And this hook that I talked about that stays in your head might be good for the televoters. So overall, I think I wouldn't be sad if it was Reim, because at least we're coming last with something special, kind of like last year. But I think the best song to go to Eurovision might actually be ISAAK. But again, I'm German. We have this German psyche to choose the song that might do the best at Eurovision. So please do let me know if I'm completely wrong, and if you're not from Germany especially, which song do you think Germany should send to Eurovision, and which song is your favorite in this selection? Thank you so much for watching. I will be doing more reaction videos like this one, rankings of the national finals, lyric explanation videos, news, lots to discover. So please subscribe to this channel as well. See you then, and bye-bye.